Okay, hello. My name is Sandra-Lee and I am the owner of 808 Company. I am with my astrologer here, Alexandra. We're going to be talking about all the different crystals that are excellent for you specifically with your zodiac sign. So Alexandra is going to be covering a little bit about each zodiac sign, and I'm going to be talking about the crystals that can support each of kind of these traits about your zodiac signs. I'm a certified crystal practitioner, and Alex is a certified astrologer. So if you have any questions, definitely feel free to leave us a comment, send us an email. All of our information will be below in our description. So please reach out to us. So Alexandra, please let us get started.
Let's get started. Let's get right into it. And you know which sign loves to get things started and get right into it? It's, of course, the first sign of the zodiac, Aries. They symbolize the spring equinox, the fire and the light that comes out of the long darkness of winter. And they're just here to bring exactly that, the light, the fire, the fuel to finally just get things going. And that really speaks so much on their character and their personality, because Aries are really big on leadership potential, getting things started, really showing people what boldness and courageousness and taking risks and going for everything that you truly want and desire in life, how fulfilling that can be for you. And they set such a example of leading. Well, they literally lead by example to show others, like, go for it and do the same for yourself. And they'll be the loudest to cheer for you to be courageous and go for what you want as well, always cheering on those around them. They're really big on self-improvement. They're ruled by the planet Mars, the planet of passion, the assertion of one's will, and the expression of our physical energies. So they're definitely full of a lot of vitality, but sometimes it can be a little bit too spontaneous in too many different areas. So we've, just like, oh my gosh, I love this. I'm going to do this. I love this. Just like enthusiasm, response to everything. So it's like, we're here thinking, okay, how can we try to help them to channel their focus or maybe make it more sustaining so that they don't just go all day and burn out? How perspectives on the crystals will help with that.
Yeah, definitely. So the first crystal that I have for Aries is carnelian. Now, a lot of you are familiar with carnelian. It was super popular for a few minutes there because people were talking about how carnelian was going to, excuse the term, get them laid. So carnelian really is about passion, which is really supportive for Aries who has a lot of passion, or maybe is lacking in passion. Maybe something's kind of going on in their life and they're kind of missing that fire. Carnelian definitely will reignite it. It's all about creativity, boldness, vitality, energy, and just like I said, fueling that fire. So that's carnelian. Now, on the opposite side, for the overly passionate Aries, we have black onyx. So black onyx is a really good stone for kind of grounding you and adding a layer of protection. It helps them be more calm, more assertive, a little less impulsive, which we all kind of need. I'm an Aries, so I'm kind of talking to myself here. Less anxious, and it'll help you to slow down. So sometimes that fire really just kind of burns a little bit too hotly and too quickly, and it really does end up causing you to kind of burn out. So with this will help you stay at ease in your surroundings. This will help you to not kind of waste that burn and maybe turn it into a slow burn so that you can use your passion and use that drive a little bit more effectively. So that's black onyx for Aries.
I love that example you use. Like Aries, you are a generator. You have endless supply of fire, but that doesn't mean you have to just exert it into every opportunity you get. Like, you should really try to sit still with yourself and ask yourself what you want to respond to that you're most passionate about, so that you can pour more of your fuel towards that rather than towards everything, and then kind of towards the end of the day be frustrated that you didn't focus on what you realized later you wish you did more of. So right. Those grounding energies and practices will really benefit you to just respond to what you actually want to say yes to, instead of saying yes too much and then being frustrated that you couldn't accomplish as much as you wanted to.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, up next we have Taurus the bull, which is my cousin sign, and our leading lady right here is a Taurus as well. So talk to him, Alex.
Yes, we try not to be biased and say equal positive and potentially challenges with each sign. So it's not like Taurus is going to get like a better review than anyone else. But yes, Taurus the bull, it's the second sign of the zodiac. It's a fixed earth sign. So I think after Aries season, we realized, okay, wow, we did a lot of running around, but what did we kind of get done? So Taurus is here to kind of just slow down, get ourselves grounded. It's funny we're doing this today when Mercury just entered Taurus, because I was speaking about this in my reel. It's really just about realizing that we have all these ideas and passions, but Taurus energy is about how can I physically manifest my desires into this reality, because Taurus deals a lot with the physical senses, material possessions, not necessarily in a superficial way, but it's about building security and comfort, not just for themselves, but others. They're very loyal, very loving. So everything they think towards building, they're thinking about what can it do for others and how can it make a form of security for myself and others. They're very big on craving security and comfort. They're very big on both the comforting senses of material and natural things. They can work very hard, but they prefer to work very smarter. So it's kind of like the balance after Aries energy, just thinking like, okay, I exerted so much energy and now I'm just going to think practically from a grounded perspective, two of Earth signs' favorite words, on where I want to apply myself and the most efficient and practical ways to do so that I can actually enjoy rest and comfort and pleasures in life, which Taurus is also very fond of as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay, so for Taurus, I mean, so we're getting into some crystals. Taurus is really heart-centered. A lot of the crystals that they are that are for Taurus are really heart-centered because they're a Venus-ruled sign, as Alex said. So the first crystal for Taurus that we have here is actually emerald. So emerald is a very good stone for like that heart-centered compassion. It's known as a stone of successful love. So we just have a raw piece here. It brings loyalty and provides for domestic bliss. All of that little bit of security that we were just talking about with Taurus and those things that they love. It's the light is not doing a lot of justice here, but this does have quite a bit of green in it. Green again is a heart chakra centered color. So love and loyalty, of course, like we said, are very important. And emerald actually attracts abundance. So abundance of love and an abundance of loyalty, since that and security, which is extremely important to a Taurus. The second crystal that we have for a Taurus is rhodonite. So rhodonite is a stone of compassion. It's an emotional balancer and it clears away emotional wounds and scars from the past. It really nurtures love. It's really ideal for a Taurus because Tauruses may tend to get stuck or stagnant. They hold on to the past or refusing to leave unhealthy situations due to comfort. So rhodonite really just kind of brings that compassion for you to help choose yourself in situations where you may have stagnated, where you're feeling like that sense of comfort that is, it's toxic. Nothing grows in comfortable scenarios. So know that and grab a piece of rhodonite to help you get out of toxic situation. Okay.
Yes.
So, Taurus.
Yeah. Just to add on a little bit more to that. Yes. Taurus ruled by Venus. They really do crave not just comfort and security, but as if any Venus ruled signs, which includes Libra as well, they want to create more beauty and ease in their surrounding, and they are very security oriented, which sometimes a shadow side to that can just be staying where you're comfortable. And especially as a fixed sign as well, like Sandra mentioned, Taurus signs might be more likely to just stay where it's comfortable and where they know, even if it's not necessarily the best for them, or might tend to hold on to the past more because like there's a comfort in just knowing what you've already experienced rather than kind of embracing uncertainty or new situations.
Yeah, for sure.
That's kind of where those modalities of fixed signs, mutable signs, cardinal signs can kind of play in with the positive traits of those, but like kind of challenges as well.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Which we will be talking more about, so stay tuned. All right,
Yes.
Moving on to Gemini, the twins.
Yes, Gemini twins, third sign of the zodiac. It is ruled by Mercury. So quick fun fact, Mercury ruled signs are more likely to be affected when we have Mercury retrogrades, because it's the ruling planet for you. So anywhere that you may have Gemini or Virgo, which we'll get to later on in your chart, may be particularly influenced during the Mercury retrograde. But anyways, back to what's actually relevant. This is a mutable air sign ruled by Mercury. So this represents logic, curiosity, communication, how we give and receive information, Mercury in, I believe, Greek and Roman mythology was represented by Hermes, and I can't remember what the other one would be, but I think his name was actually Mercury, the messenger god. He had the little wings, I believe, on his
shoes.
Boots. Yes, and he would fly around just giving, receiving information. He was the god of withholding information. So it's kind of interesting to throw in the archetypes of each sign as well to know what their highest purpose or potential is. Gemini, the twins, is meant to see dual perspectives, to keep an open mind, to keep that childlike curiosity and wonder, just to learn and retain as much information as possible and to share what they know as well. So there's a lot of positive potential to be a teacher in some ways, while also always remaining the student. But we keep in mind that sometimes being so endlessly curious about things can just have your mind running rampant and leading to tendencies of overthinking, potentially even to the point of not being able to sleep properly because there's something always like catching your interest. Maybe you're staying up late reading a book or a video game or chatting with a friend, and it's just really important with these Mercury ruled signs to practice more mindfulness and stillness of how they can just kind of practice more mental clarity and stillness and empty the mind more, because too much restlessness in the mind and overstimulation can just lead to anxiety or burnout or even confusion when it comes to decision making when you're trying to weigh out too many different perspectives. Yeah. So we kept that in mind for the crystals that we chose.
Yeah, so for the crystals that we chose for Gemini, we did a serpentine. Serpentine actually assists with the conscious direction of healing energy towards problem areas. So this is a serpentine egg. Of course, all these crystals come in various forms. So you might get some raw ones, you may get some Taurus, some spheres. I chose this egg because I love it. It looks like a dragon's egg, which is really neat. So it helps the Gemini to find balance and eases anxiety. It helps them to assert themselves and make a more conscious and confident decision instead of overthinking, which is what we just spoke about in terms of being Mercury ruled. Instead of overthinking, it helps them to see things more clearly and from multiple perspectives, so that you can really take into consideration, all avenues of the decision that you're about to make without, feeling overwhelmed by these things. So that's what serpentine is good for. The next one that we chose was Desert Rose Selenite. So Desert Rose Selenite, again, it assists with clarity and mental clarity and focus. So selenite is a crystal that, generally speaking, doesn't need to be cleansed. It's a crystal that you can actually use to cleanse other crystals. It just brings in so much like positive energy and filters out negative energy. So the Desert Rose Selenite has all of the same qualities of selenite with a little bit more. Now we chose again for Gemini because we really want to help them with that mental clarity and that focus. Gives you a little bit more of clear expression. Again, when you're getting caught up in that overthinking, it helps you to better direct your energy and your will. And, it just, again, brings you back down to center. So this is a really good crystal for Gemini.
Yeah, I was just thinking from a chakra perspective for these Mercury ruled signs, anything that works with the crown chakra where you're receiving divine information is the most, I wouldn't say the most important, but one of the most important for them to work on to make sure it's not overstimulated, because symptoms of that lead to confusion, depression, anxiety. So crystals usually relating to that white or clear color work best with the crown chakra.
Yeah, definitely. So I mean, if you don't have the Desert Rose Selenite, again, the original selenite or an orange or peach selenite, those will all work effectively for a Gemini. I just really like the way the Desert Rose one looks.
Can't argue with that. All right. Well, next we have Cancer. This resonates with Sandra and I a lot because it's so important to know what else you have in your sign. Like maybe as we're going through with this, you think, well, I don't really resonate with that Taurus description so much. And just because it's your sun sign, because Sandra and I have a lot of Cancer in different parts of our chart. So whenever it comes up, we kind of just giggle a bit because we're just like, yeah, I know where that resonates. So with Cancer, this is the fourth sign of the zodiac and it's symbolized by the crab. This is a cardinal water sign and it's ruled by the moon. So I would say arguably it would be really important for Cancers, especially to work with moon ritual practices. Like, of course it is important for everybody, but this is, your ruling planetary body. So you feel it maybe more so than other signs when there's a full moon or just the different stages of the moon. They're just very in tune with this divine archetype of the moon, which also symbolizes the mother as well, which is why they're such nurturing, empathic, intuitive, really in tune with their divine feminine energies, being aware of their deepest emotions and desires, and a very reflective sign as well. Sometimes the challenge here with being very reflective is similar to Taurus, being a little bit overly reflective on potentially reflecting too much in the past rather than being present, or because they're so deeply in tune or aware of their emotions, sometimes the emotions of the past might need a lot of cleansing and release because they might be holding on to it to just do more ruminating and reflecting over. So it's really important for this sign to constantly be cleansing and releasing their emotions, and to not ruminate too much in the past, and just kind of get more in tune with their emotions and intuition, to be present, just feel more in the present. They are very big on security as well, similar to Taurus, but just, I would say, with more emotional intensity to it, because they're very nurturing towards themselves and others, and it's very big on making sure that they can provide to themselves and others. And they are actually very strong and protective as well. So wherever,
don't get it messed up. Don't think of Cancer as, a soft little weepy crybaby, because that hard shell, very tough to get through. Very, very
exactly. You got to think about what lengths a sign like Cancer be willing to go to protect those and that which they love. So yeah, there's a lot of strong emotional intensity and strength. Like, emotions can be channeled into a form of willpower and motivation, whether that's towards protecting others or to achieving their other goals and desires. So that's really like their superpower. Like, what can I channel my emotional intensity towards? Or if I do this, how can it benefit myself or those that I love? So it's good to think of each sign's like kind of strengths and how to channel it towards their goals.
Yeah, for sure. And that's why we chose crystals that we chose, because really it's about, helping the Cancer to kind of connect to that divine energy and that psychic and intuitive energy. So the first crystal we chose, of course, had to be Moonstone. Moonstone, again, obviously with its connection directly to the moon and with Cancer's connection, makes perfect sense. So we have a Moonstone here. Okay, so this is a Moonstone generator. Again, helps you to connect with your divine feminine and masculine. Like, don't think divine feminine and think it's just for women, please. Everybody has a good balance of feminine. It should have a good balance of femininity and masculinity, because we're all dual beings. That's another topic. We'll get to that. And psychic intuitive powers of the moon, it helps to balance emotional instability. It helps you to find calmness, ease, and peaceful release. Helps cleanse your emotions as well. So when you're feeling, maybe just too much of even a good thing, too much of a bad thing, too much of a good thing, helps to just kind of bring down the stability. It's a very nurturing energy. Okay. I mean, of course, we just talked about Cancers being extremely nurturing creatures. So of course, a nurturing crystal makes sense for them. And, because the issues with Cancers is sometimes they can be caught pouring too much into other people's cups and they don't reserve enough for themselves, and that can leave a Cancer very drained, and very it increases that emotional instability. So Moonstone really is supportive in helping to remind yourself that you are worth pouring into first, and only that you should pour when your cup overfloweth. Okay. So the second crystal that we chose, and that applies to everybody, of course, but Cancers, because they tend to do it a little bit more often. Okay. So selenite, we're back to the selenite. You see, I can't get enough of it. So selenite, I chose a selenite egg this time. So it helps to cleanse and protect energy, tap into your higher self and intuition for the Cancer. It cleanses the energy around them and your other crystals as well. So excellent for that. And it also helps to provide that mental clarity and that focus. So, for a Cancer who may again be caught up with the overthinking, maybe caught up with, in the past, or caught up with, did I do enough? Am I enough? Am I giving enough? This helps you, the selenite helps you to have that clarity and understand that you are more than enough. Okay, so keep a selenite close by. Excellent to also have around your home to make a grid. Having it on the windowsill helps to filter the energy in and out of your house. Again, it's connected to the moon, so use it whenever you're doing any type of moon, affirmations or, anything like that. Fun fact, it's actually named for the Greek goddess of the moon, Selenite. Okay, so, and also really good to keep by your bedside. So it helps, it's protective while you sleep as well. And we were speaking previously about crown chakra crystals and that clarity and that intuition. Selenite does fall into that area, and it is very good for clarity from your crown chakra.
Yes. Each sign has their own intuitive abilities, like different types of intuition, which maybe Allison might be able to give a separate discussion on. But I would say for sure, when it comes to water signs, water represents the deep subconscious and the intuition. So there's a lot of potential, very highly intuitive, even sometimes different forms of psychic abilities when it comes to water sign energy. So whenever I do a chart reading for water signs, I specifically always tell them the number one thing to do is make sure not to doubt yourself, because doubt is the biggest destructive energy to developing your intuition. So I'm adding that point into why we chose these crystals, because it's very heightening for intuition.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, up next, our powerful Leos.
Yes, Leo the lion, the 5th sign of the zodiac. This is another fixed fire sign, and it's ruled by the sun. So it's pretty cool when we see signs ruled by not planets, but planetary bodies. The sun represents the conscious self, our way of being, like essentially how we shine our light into this world. It represents both the ego self and the higher self, our will, our sense of purpose. So this is a good background understanding of Leo's more likely having that expressive need to really creatively share their sense of self in the world, whether that's through taking more of a leadership position to think about how they can inspire others. And they're very big cheerleaders on inspiring the potential of others. Like most Leos that I know are kind of like your number one cheerleader. Like if they're going to believe in themselves, of course, they're going to want to believe in you too, and encourage you to reach for the potential that they see in you and that they hope that you see in yourself, and really be loyal and affectionate and nurturing by your side to make sure that they can do whatever they can to help bring that out of you as well, because they do their best to nurture and cheer for themselves as well. And they're really that friend that's encouraging you to like be a little bit more extra. Like what? Like go express yourself more. Like you want to dress up? Like yeah, like add one more, I don't know, necklace or layer, whatever makes you feel good, because they're just at their highest self, like very joyful and enjoy like the pleasures in life, not just from a physical sense, but just like expressing themselves, being themselves, just having fun, really connected to that inner child self, and just encouraging others to do the same. And just similar with Aries energy, all fire energy is about going for what you want in life and transcending limits, which the shadow side challenge of that is just making sure you're not being overly hard on yourself, and being reasonable with, I wouldn't say like what you can or can't do, because it's a matter of perception, but not being hard on yourself just because you didn't get to accomplish what you wanted to do just in that moment, because it doesn't mean you can't try again another time. It doesn't have to just be the end all be all if you didn't just do something right there and then. There might have been other factors that you maybe need to be more compassionate about, because fire sign energy can be go, but they might be very hard on themselves on what they feel they didn't do, and need to work on acknowledging in themselves more and more compassionate ways, because they very much are very determined on going for what they want. So sometimes that inner critic can get in their own way of not accomplishing things, or they're not acknowledging or like cheering themselves on in the compassionate ways that they need to.
Yeah.
But they're very big-hearted towards themselves and others. So they just have to make sure, similar to what you were saying to Cancers, that they apply that big-hearted, generous energy towards themselves, and not being hard on themselves for not being able to accomplish the very big dreams they have just in the span of like one day. So
yeah, for sure. Well, yeah, so that's why we chose crystals like Tiger's Eye. So Tiger's Eye really helps that Leo with their confidence, vitality, that self-expression. It's a good abundance crystal as well. It's also grounding, which is important for sometimes the overzealous Leo who is, running at 110 at all times, and doesn't have that ability to find some balance so that they don't burn out. Again, very similarly to Aries, and the use of carnelian. So it has a strong abundance of energy. And it helps you to make the most efficient use of your power. Okay, so it helps you to kind of make those decisions that you need to make that will get you, the furthest. Taking a page out of the Taurus book, working smarter, not harder. It helps you so that you're not wasting kind of like that energy on something that may or may not work. It'll help you pause for a second and really consider, like, is this the thing that's going to get me, as far as I could get it with the amount of time that I'm, expending on trying to figure out whatever the situation is or making this move. So it helps to stabilize your energy and then strengthen your will and your visions. Okay. So that is Tiger's Eye. Next up, we have Sunstone. So Sunstone is one of my favorite crystals just because, you can't go wrong with a piece of crystal that reminds you of the sun, right? So it's really about joy and prosperity as well. All the things that the sun kind of helps you to feel, that energy, that vitality. You step outside after being inside for a couple of days, the sun just kind of fills you with its warmth and its passion. So for a Leo, it helps them to increase their intuition and their self-expression and to shine their light from within, give that warmth and that nurturing and energy to others, similarly to how the sun does. So this is our a sunstone here. Okay.
Yeah, I love that last sentence you added, because essentially the Leo's highest potential is remembering that you can be the sun to others, like that warmth and love and the light to others. You can be that life-giving, nurturing energy from within, like when you genuinely share the authentic, loving, creative expressions from within you, and inspires others to do the same. So yeah, sure. I really like that. All right. Well, next we have Virgo, the sixth sign of the zodiac. This is represented by the maiden archetype. This is a mutable earth sign, another one ruled by Mercury, so very much influenced by the mind and intellect, how we give and receive and share information. I would say the difference with a Virgo, though, is it's thinking more so, I love to obtain information, but I need to really organize an efficient way how this information can be practical and benefit myself and others. Like with earth sign, it's more so about, okay, that's great, but what's the practical use of this? What's the efficient use of this? Like, how can this help me achieve this? Whereas with the air-ruled Mercury sign, I just might enjoy information for the sake of information. Like, wow, that was really fun to learn. Cool, what else can I learn? Virgo's like, yeah. Like, what is this gonna do for me? Like, what purpose does this serve? They're very conscious of details. And they're, like, I would say if they had a archetypal purpose with their energies, it's really about the purification of all of their activities and goals. It's really about a lot of innovation as well, how to make things.
Oh, Alex, you froze there. Oh, we're still frozen. Sorry, guys.
Hello?
Okay, sorry. Can you start back from the top for Virgo? I'm not sure why it froze there.
Yeah, so sorry about that. I just checked my internet connection. It still has the 3 bars. Okay, we will rewind that. So, from the very beginning, like the maiden archetype and everything?
Nope, just kind of close to the end there.
Okay, I would really say their highest potential is through the purification and organization and innovation of things. Like they have such a gift of attention and eye for details, and even the ability to innovate things, take things apart, see how things can be more simplified and not overcomplicated, but still make sure whatever or whoever they're working with or on can be as efficient and reach its highest potential as possible. They have a strong drive to be of service and prove themselves through being part of a purpose bigger than themselves, which is definitely important to not get caught up in. Like you are your own greatest accomplishment and what you should be of service through life. So don't get too lost in being of service to others. Selflessness, of course, with boundaries and moderation. But they have a gift for just being able to see the details in themselves and others and how things can be improved, simplified, purified, innovated. It's just really important to not get lost in that because they are very drawn towards being of service. So boundaries is super important for them. And also so is working on being a little too overly critical of themselves or others because of all these details they notice. Like, of course, asking for solicited consent on may I ask if you want my opinion on how you may do this better or whatsoever? Or especially when they speak to themselves too, like, don't be so hard on yourself. Again, with what we were saying with Leo, for example, of all the things that you notice, all the things that you've added to your to-do list, not getting yourself overwhelmed, really working on things like anxiety from overthinking and noticing things all the time, finding that acceptance with what's beyond your control. So there's kind of gifts and challenges when it comes to noticing so much and just having that desire to be of service.
Right, for sure. And that's why we chose Lepidolite for Virgo, because it really does help you to stop getting caught up in that overthinking that often happens with a Virgo, and those minute details that kind of end up overtaking some of the decisions that you may end up making. So it's, again, because they're ruled by Mercury, so self-expression and communication is important. However, they may need more encouragement to speak up because they're hard on themselves, right? Again, like what Alex was saying, in terms of those attention to detail, there's a downside to noticing maybe too many details, especially when it comes to judging yourself. So they need to release fear and self-judgment and stress more often, keep that renewed sense of faith within themselves and others, and stop getting caught up in trying to be of service to every single person that you meet. So it helps you to calm your mind, body, and spirit, again, connecting to your intuition and your higher self, and that state of unease and that state of illness that can sometimes get that feeling when you are too caught up in that. Lepidolite helps to even you out. Lepidolite is actually also generally really good for stress and depression, so a good crystal for everybody to have, but especially for a Virgo. So the next crystal that we have for Virgo is moss agate. So moss agate is a crystal that is people often associate with plants and gardening, because it is really beneficial for your plants. That it has that really divine connection to earth. I have one in all of my plants that used to struggle, and now they're not struggling. They're doing great. So moss agate is really good for your plants, just as a side note. It also promotes self-expression and communication, balances your emotions, releasing, again, that fear and that stress. Encourages trust and hope. For a Virgo, who may just, again, in those attention to details, maybe have lost a little bit of hope and, faith in humanity and stuff like that. It helps to kind of reignite that. It eliminates, those depressive thoughts caused by, the imbalances that sometimes can come when you're examining something for just a little too closely, and it starts to not really make too much sense. Like, you spend too much time kind of looking at what humans are doing to the earth, and it can be very depressing. Just makes you feel very hopeless. Moss agate is going to help you kind of remember, that it's not hopeless. It's certain situations, especially when you turn on the news, might seem really hopeless, but not all is lost. So moss agate's really good for that. And of course, again, similarly to how it's good for growth with your plants, it's also good for growth as a person. So if a Virgo is maybe stuck or feeling stagnant or feeling like too much stuff is happening around them and they don't have control of anything, moss agate can remind you, like, no, you're still growing, you're still on a path to growth, and can support you during that time.
I love that, especially with the mentioned of the emotional balance as well, because I find that with Mercury ruled signs, they can tend to try to overanalyze their emotions. Emotions and logic, we should allow them to be two separate things. Like, thinking yourself out of the way you want to feel can just lead to more emotional suppression, and then you're going to have that buildup of the health issues that can come from emotional suppression. So that's a good point.
Yeah. So on to Libra, the scales.
Yes, the scales. Libra represents the scales and balance and harmony. As this also represents the fall equinox, when the day again is equal to night. So that's symbolic with the scales as well. They strive between the balance of the polarities. Sandra had mentioned duality earlier with one of the signs, I believe Gemini. So a lot of their daily thoughts and actions are about justice, morality, a strong sense of what is right and fairness to others, being kind, similar to Virgo, and being to service, but it might come from their own sense of morality, just in things needing to be balanced. Not that they can't, stand up for themselves or kind of fight for others, because they definitely will. They're very big on justice and doing what's right. even though essentially they do strive for harmony. And as well as beauty, they're very known for enjoying the aesthetic pleasures of life. As a Venus ruled sign, that's part of Venus's energy as well. She is the goddess of love and beauty, so she enjoys the comforts of beautiful things around her, including the beautifying of herself, which doesn't necessarily even have to be superficial. Not that there's anything wrong with that. It could be a holistic sense of beauty, like making sure that you are beautiful from within, from your strong sense of morals, or being very healthy, or knowing that you are a kind person to others. Like whatever your definition of beauty is, Libra really cares about seeing whatever their definition of beauty is in the world, and their own definition of peace in the world. So they might be very health conscious oriented, just to feel beautiful from a physical standpoint. Similar to Gemini though, just from being able to see dual perspectives, this is a sign of duality, it can get confusing. Like, how can I feel this way, but also this way too? Like, where's the balance with the scales? So sometimes Libras can be known for indecisiveness, or maybe changing their mind too often, and needing to kind of just be more sure of themselves that it's okay for me to just make one decision and just figuring out as I go. I don't always have to try to make both decisions at the same time, or heck, if there was 3 decisions or more, especially because of their need to seek harmony in their relationships with others. It's important for them to work on those boundaries of not compromising themselves. Like, oh shoot, we're at dinner and I really wanted to order this, but everyone else is ordering differently, so I don't want to somehow have everyone look at me differently. I'm just thinking of a silly example, because sometimes that can happen. You might let insecurities or things that you feel are uncomfortable get the best of you, and just do what the group thinks rather than just making decisions for yourself. These things can happen more with Libra because they really just care about peace and harmony, but at what cost? Like, you can't just not speak up for yourself and regret it later. So
yeah, and I
put
guess
these in mind.
The other side of that would be the judgmental kind of side of it as well. So you might be tough on yourself, but you also may be tough on other people in other situations. Like, I think some Libras do take like the scales of justice very, very seriously, and they become like judge, jury, and executioner over like certain situations. So sometimes, like, you know, that compassion that you also have to have for yourself is compassion you need to have for other people around you as well. Not everybody maybe is standing in the exact same spot that you are. So sometimes, you know, it's difficult to kind of not just judge somebody, you know, using like that, you know, your morality scale in your head as well. You have to take into consideration some factors that maybe you aren't aware of, you know, given that you aren't standing in that person's shoes. So yeah, that's something to be mindful of as well.
Yeah, doing what you think is right for you doesn't necessarily mean it's a one-size-fits-all formula for someone else's situation that you know nothing about. So that's a very good point.
Yeah, definitely. So that's why I chose Labradorite for Libra, because it helps to provide that stability and the forward thinking they need to find justice in all situations, you know, to kind of help you see a little bit past you know, maybe just whatever you're kind of experiencing in any given moment. So it helps you to also release anxiety, calm your mind, and interject some spontaneity into your life, because everything is just so much about making the right decision. You know, sometimes you might overthink that, and maybe you get to a place where, you know, you're not even able to just enjoy yourself, you know. So Labradorite will help you with that. It also brings happiness and hope, and helps you to awaken your intuition so that you can look at something, you know, maybe from a higher perspective. So the second stone for Libra is Sodalite. So Sodalite, again, that emotionally balancing, because we're talking about balance with Libras. It can help to amplify their rationality and their ability to think through something objectively. It enhances their innate diplomatic, peacemaking powers, and will help you communicate with wisdom, authenticity, and smoothly guide you towards solid decisions. It helps to balance the energies within, which is why it resonates so strongly with our balanced Libras. Okay, so that's Sodalite. And anything blue also helps to really work with the throat chakra. So when we're talking about, well, more specifically the Sodalite than the Labradorite, despite its blue flash, which I love, it helps you to, you know, communicate those things very clearly. So what can happen sometimes is you get a little bit jumbled, maybe like when you're thinking about all of the different avenues and all of the things you have to consider, when you're making any type of decision. Anything to do with your throat chakra, so any blue crystals will help you communicate that with clarity, so that other people can really understand where you're coming from, because not everybody can, again, be in your shoes, and therefore not everyone can see exactly your perspective. So perhaps it'll help you communicate in a way that maybe more understanding to your audience.
Love that. All right, well, next is Scorpio, the most arguably intense sign of the zodiac.
Listen, I have a guilty pleasure for Scorpio, so please.
Yes, I have a Scorpio rising, so I'm still figuring it out, because Scorpio, fun fact, which I do not have enough time to go into, it could be its whole other video, is the only sign that's actually 8 symbols, because they represent the ultimate process of continuous death and rebirth until they reach their highest form. Wow. So their highest form is actually the phoenix. When they've gone through all these cycles of death and rebirth and the transformation they go through, which can quite often be painful or uncomfortable, they're able to transcend into the phoenix, which is this master healer and gift to this earth that can understand pretty much what all walks of life have gone through, because they've lived and died and been reborn through pretty much what everyone has gone through, and they have that gift of being able to heal and see from like the highest ascended version, the higher perspective of like what pain and suffering can lead to. So to inspire others to just know that what they're going through is not in vain, or that they're not suffering endlessly. So that can be a whole other video, but it does help to give that perspective with Scorpios, because they deal with the cycles of rebirth, renewal, regeneration, deep, intense soul level transformation. So they also, because of this, have great powers of great willpower. They're able to channel this intensity towards kind of rebirthing the version of themselves towards what's needed towards their goal. Like they can really kind of transform into what's needed to whatever they're channeling their energy towards, with that intensity and desire and dedication as well. They are associated with their strong sexual energies and passion as well, as part of passion. And they have very deep emotions, but more so emotions that they tend to keep to themselves, because it can be very private and secretive. It is really important to them to watch out for, I wouldn't say paranoia, but like overly worrying about needing to keep everything to yourself. Like this is a sign that would benefit from doing a lot of not only just shadow work, but heart-centered work as well. Like you shouldn't have to harbor and keep everything to yourself. You should be able to, trust yourself and do enough heart healing work to know that there are the people that you can feel safe with, and then you can open up to enough, and then just be your true authentic self with, and that you don't have to keep everything to yourself, since they tend to be very private. They are also very gifted and highly intuitive in being able to see into the depths of things. So sometimes just benefits to not to look too deeply into things, and just to find a balance of lightheartedness, and just to kind of enjoy life more, and not kind of just have to dive deep into what's the true look for hidden meanings. Like sometimes it's okay to just kind of let things be, and just be like, you know what,
as they are.
Let me just actually kind of just let things be as they are, and just enjoy life more. And that will help with the emotional harmony aspect, as with other water signs, you deal with a lot of intensities or depths and things that may be suppressed because they deal with things on their own and need to deal with that release more often, and emotional cleansing as well.
Yeah, for sure, which is why we chose smoky quartz for Scorpio, because it helps to release negativity from the body. It's, as they are the most kind of mysterious and enigmatic, I can't pronounce that word, I'm sorry, sign of the zodiac. Scorpios tend to conceal their emotions. They show to others they have a calm and peaceful nature, but really inside there's so much turbulence. Smoky quartz will bring better focus and honesty to their emotional world, and the grounding effects that calm down the feisty Scorpio spirit, especially when they're being challenged, and their characteristic intensity. So smoky quartz, generally speaking, is an extremely grounding crystal. Everybody can benefit from a chunk of smoky quartz in their space, but especially for the super intense Scorpio. This is an extremely beneficial crystal. The next one that we have for Scorpio is malachite. So malachite is a stone that helps to guide Scorpio on a unique path. It helps them to align with their true purpose. Okay, so it's a symbol, like most green crystals are a symbol of power, vitality, personal growth. And it's the perfect energy for enhancing the best qualities about the Scorpio sign. So it helps to dim down some of the negative or maybe shadow side energy of Scorpio, and it helps to enhance more of the positive side and the light side. So it's an intense stone of transformation, as Alex was just speaking about how many cycles of death and rebirth that Scorpios tend to go through. Malachite really resonates with that Plutonian energy. And since that's Scorpio's ruling planet, it's obviously very effective for them. It helps us to understand like the deeper concepts. It fortifies their capacity to observe instead of react. And it also helps, with that, that ability to, that state of permanent flux and making flexible plans. So I find that with Scorpios, sometimes they have a really hard time sticking to firm plans because they have that understanding that anything can change at any given time. So to kind of, make a commitment to something where, something could change tomorrow and you don't know where you're going to be, it kind of helps to support that energy as well, so that they can make plans, but maybe just like add some flexibility and be able to communicate, what their concerns are sometimes with making plans too far into the future or whatever. So, your Scorpio might have like a commitment issue, as a Scorpio might have commitment issues, but the crystal like this would support that. And I'm not just talking about relationships, I'm talking about plans, I'm talking about making a decision about where you're going to live or whatever the case is. It's not just about relationships. So malachite's going to help you with that, and it's a beautiful crystal, but I must let you know it is absolutely toxic when it's wet. Don't get it wet, especially in its raw form. When it's polished, it's okay, it's better. It's not okay, but it's better. But when it's raw, don't get it wet.
These are very important things to know.
Next up, we have my love to hate Sagittarius.
Yes, Sagittarius, they are ruled by Jupiter. So this gives them, as the biggest planet. So it's all about expansion, like just seeing the biggest picture in life, like tend to be very optimistic. They are very big on personal freedom and being able to explore like all of what their own inner universe and the outer universe surrounds them by. Jupiter also symbolizes wisdom and higher philosophy. So whether that's towards morality and justice and law, or higher learning such as like philosophy, spirituality, morality, just high ideals, like they're very passionate about like the endless search to just keep discovering the truth in these areas. And that tends to be what leads them towards travel, just because like there's only so much you can learn just being in one place. Like stagnancy and feeling trapped for Sagittarius is just a no-go. Like whether they're going to constantly be reading books just to expand their mind that way, or just physically be present in the action of what they're trying to learn about. They want to just continuously learn. Very similar to Gemini, just that endless curiosity and to expand their mind, but mostly through experience and physical action. And differently to Gemini, Gemini tends to be more social through bouncing back and forth ideas to each other, where Sagittarius can be quite content independently, kind of learning on their own. They're very much more inclined to be a self-teaching, like lone philosopher, almost like, I wouldn't say a hermit in some ways, because they do enjoy obviously the company of others, like, but it's just more so about like beneficial learning exchanges. Otherwise they'd be more comfortable and inclined to kind of continue that individual learning quest with themselves. They are very direct and forthright. They're very big on speaking the truth. I think Sagittarius get known for their bluntness and make you kind of have that like reaction.
Yeah. Which is why people love to hate them, because like it's like their bluntness and those truths, they can be hard to hear sometimes for like a more sensitive person, because they don't hesitate to speak exactly what their truth is. It's just about tempering it, to understand that, to take into consideration other people's feelings. So sometimes Sagittarius get a bad rap because they don't always do that, but yeah, for them it's just about expressions of truth. But I guess consent and boundaries and awareness is so important in anything, because
it's important to know when people are ready to hear things or ask, like, oh, you know, may I, and then offer these things rather than just dropping a big fiery truth bomb that fire energy tends to deal with, like, hey, just so you know, boom, like here's this. And you're just like, oh, okay, that kind of just turns my whole life upside down, but thank you.
I know, that's why we got an Aries and a Sagittarius in the same room. It's a little bit rough.
Entertaining though, because you know,
sure,
there is the good humorness and the lightheartedness, and like I find that fire signs do tend to get things over pretty quickly because like there's already just a restlessness and curiosity to be on to the next thing. Like there's no time to dwell as much on the he said and she said, because they are so curious about the world around them. So it's time to keep moving on and learning things. So the crystals then that we chose.
Yeah, so we chose lapis lazuli for Sagittarius because they're natural born speakers, like we just were saying. They have a tendency to voice what's in their mind without properly thinking it through sometimes, or taking into consideration other people's feelings surrounding a situation. It's a stone for the throat chakra, like we spoke about previously with any blue crystals. It encourages you to speak your truth with wisdom. Okay, it is the perfect for the already vocal Sagittarian, as it enhances your ability to speak the truth as well as seek out certain truths when necessary. Okay, which is not all the time. All right. The second one that we have is turquoise. Where did my turquoise go? I had it in my pocket. Now it's not in my pocket. Alex, do you have any turquoise with you? Maybe I put it down when I was downstairs, but most of us know what turquoise looks like. It's a nice, like bright blue color. It is actually one of the main crystals for Sagittarians. It's really soothing, which can help calm like the fire of the Sagittarius's energy. It's known, again, speaking your truth, because it's blue, for your throat chakra. It boosts creativity and it gives you empowerment to seek out new ventures and finish things that you have started. Because sometimes I feel like a Sagittarius can get distracted. You know, you want to learn all these things at once. You want to do all these things at once. And sometimes it means that you can't finish one of the things that you've already started because you just want everything all kind of at once. And you want to attain all of this knowledge and all of this information. But, you know, you maybe you're putting down a book before you're finishing it, something like that. Turquoise kind of helps you to, you know, finish what you started before you jump into a new venture. It's an excellent stone to keep you safe while you're traveling, which is, you know, great for the adventurous Sagittarius. And also it's a calming stone. Now, blues tend to be also calming because, you know, to help you temper those excessive energies. It's making it the perfect meditative stone for, you know, maybe the restless Sagittarius. So yeah, it is really a useful stone for a Sagittarius. It also helps to promote harmony in your relationship. So sometimes when you're in a position where you know, you're with another fire sign, for example, you may need to kind of have the ability to you know, temper what it is that you're saying. So a turquoise can kind of help you with that energy and help you to, again, pause, to just
like choose wisely.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. Exactly. So yeah, that's for Sagittarius. Sorry I didn't have one to show you, but
no worries. I would have almost grabbed my son's bracelet, but then I had to bring him in the room. But the bracelet that he wears every day, I actually included turquoise in it for the exact reason. Because even though, again, this is why it's important to know your birth chart. It is important to know that he's a Taurus sun, but he has a Sagittarius moon. So I see those qualities as the moon tends to deal with your more authentic self. And like exactly what you mentioned with the benefits of turquoise, I actually chose that for him. And I feel like it's been resonating really well with him. So.
Yeah, for sure. I just want to note your image is frozen right now. Can you maybe just turn off your video for a second and turn it back on?
Sure. Is that helping you?
No, you're not back. Hold on one second here. Okay, so jumping into Capricorn. Now, Capricorns tend to be some of my favorite people, just because of their work ethic. It's unrivaled. So Alex, tell us a little bit more about Capricorns.
Unrivaled for sure. They're very ambitious and practical, and it comes from a high place of morality and structure and discipline. And I think this really comes from their ruling planet, which is Saturn. It's very much like the archetypal father of the zodiac that just sees the benefit of working toward the future and going to be the provider, not just for themselves, But for others, I find a lot of Capricorns very driven by their daily thoughts and actions, and thinking about how it affects not just themselves, but others, whether that be views on environmental daily actions that they take, like how everything they do has an impact on themselves or others, or how it has an impact in the long term. They're very much like future vision oriented like that. And they're very conscious of social morality, a sense of community, a sense of orderliness and tradition. Sometimes to the point that this might even kind of be as stifling, the word I'm looking for, like something that holds you back, because it's okay to just like loosen up and have fun still, and not always think about like the consequences of all your actions, or like what people will think about you, and even like something that most people might consider something very small, but to you it's a big deal. Like these are things that they tend to be very serious minded about, where a lot of people around them might tell them to kind of just let go and loosen up more, and not just focusing on like just work and think about the joys and pleasures in life too. Capricorns might tend to think more about like, okay, well, I can work now and enjoy myself later. You know, it's important to just focus on what is guaranteed, which is the now. So finding that balance between, you know, working yourself but not overworking yourself, because especially if you're working for certain people you care about, make sure there's a balance of spending time with those people that you care about as well, rather than just thinking that, you know, you'll have that time later. But it's also really important to not let your accomplishments or possessions define you. Like find that worth through your own self-acknowledgement. Like, you know, I'm proud of myself for this. I think I'm great because of this. And things that don't have to do with things that you own, like a title or a physical possession, or acknowledgements given by others. Like it's really important for them to just acknowledge themselves, because they can be very hard on themselves in this way, because they just care so much about building something of a foundation for themselves and others, a legacy they can really leave behind, especially for their loved ones, which is amazing. But just make sure that you allow that compassion and grace and rest under all this pressure to constantly perform. But, you know, gotta love a Capricorn for how much they think about the future and what they're going to leave behind for others, or leading by example, or showing us the benefits and positive influence of what like hard work and discipline can really accomplish for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. So that's why we chose garnet for Capricorn. It is the Capricorn birthstone crystal. Alex has a piece of it there. So it's like a deep red colored crystal. So it's used to, you know, it attracts energy of the planet Saturn, which is of course Capricorn's ruling planet. You know, those who wear it prosper, tend to live a more aligned life, mentally, spiritually, and physically. They naturally seek out the approval of others, and it helps them to feel worthy, which explains why many of them are workaholics. You know, they tend to be pessimistic and sometimes suspicious in nature, so, you know, doubting the praise or approval that they do obtain. So wearing a garnet can help to balance out those unwarranted feelings of inadequacy and self-doubt that help a Capricorn forge ahead in their life, and, you know, to help them feel more relaxed and confident. Garnets, especially these deep red ones, are said to increase sexual drive and protect against, you know, those feelings of depression and like those negative thoughts that sometimes can come with that sense of like that lack of self-worth. You know, it helps them to really just, you know, just bring forward their stellar characteristics, help them see the bigger picture with a little bit more clarity, and actually gives them better problem solving skills. So they're known to have a positive impact on the relationships that Capricorns actually have close to them, because this crystal will help support, you know, how you communicate in those relationships and how you act in those relationships, and how you can accept the praise that you have in those relationships from people that actually matter to you. So that's garnet. The next one that I have for Capricorns is azurite. So it really is one of the best crystals for balancing Capricorn's work ethic with their spirituality. This is something they tend to make a last priority while they are working to get to the top. You know, this helps the Capricorn to stop and actually listen to their intuition, and help them enjoy the more spiritual aspects of life, as opposed to kind of just being bogged down with the physical, or the, you know, the things that they're working towards, like physically attaining. You know, this helps to connect more so your spiritual with your physical. So azurite is another actually great stone for your third eye and your crown. because it is just a really high vibrating stone. Really just helps to connect on a higher level. It's great for when you're meditating as well, because again, it just really opens you up to higher realms. So yeah, that's azurite.
It's really a good point. I didn't want to get into too much detail because we're kind of trying to keep short points about each, but Capricorn is not just symbolized by the goat. It's a goat with a mermaid-like fishtail as well, because they're actually supposed to represent that balance between the material, third dimensional, physical realm and the watery, subconscious, spiritual realm that the tail is represented as well. So the highest form for Capricorn is finding that balance of, how can I reach my highest potential here in the physical world, but continue to, not that the spiritual realm has a form of like achievement or competition, but how can I continue at a pace to evolve with my spiritual evolution and reach spiritual heights. Yeah, so it's really just finding that balance at this goat mermaid that I don't even know what to call it, but that they represent.
Yeah, for sure. So getting into while we're speaking about some, watery signs here, we're getting up to Aquarius. So
yes,
actually, isn't Aquarius an earth or an air sign? Yeah,
that's the funny thing. There's always like the confusion with that, because they are the water bearer. They're symbolized by a person carrying the vessel of water. So it actually plays into how they can kind of get stereotypes for being more logical and analytical rather than they are emotional, because the water symbolizes the emotion. It's not like obviously they don't have emotions, but they just are the observer of it. They're just observing the water, and it can help you because for those of us that are very water sign dominated, sometimes you're just drowning in your own feelings. So it helps with the air sign ability to just like be detached and be like, oh, okay, like this is a feeling, like I'm gonna kind of observe it. And then they're ruled by the planet Uranus, which is a very scientific oriented energy, like which is big on like experimenting, innovating, understanding things. So an Aquarius approach on the water that symbolizes the emotions that they are carrying is just about like understanding it through more from a detached perspective. Like, hey, these are emotions, but they don't define me or consume me. Whereas like with water signs, they might be like, I feel, so therefore I am. Like these feelings are me. I am feelings. Nature, but I just think that they love that Uranus energy of just being innovative and trying things different. Like they're really here after Capricorn to be like, okay, traditions and what we've always known is cool, but how can we do things differently? Like this has been done for 300 years. It's kind of long enough. How can we shake things up? Especially because they're very humanitarian and humanity oriented, where they're just thinking constantly about innovating for the betterment of the global collective. Like it's just thinking about constantly new ways, like how can we do things better, because we still have injustice, inequality. We have people starving next to like where there's just an abundance of richness, where there's no equality. So they think more so about doing things differently when it comes to global collectives and social structures or politics or whatsoever, just towards a humanitarian and philosophical efforts. And they're not afraid to keep trying new things until they find things that work for not just themselves, but others as well, and encourage others to constantly do the same. They're very forward thinking, so they are very oriented on the future, which can draw them towards inclination towards science and technology as well. They can tend to, with other air signs as well, try to overanalyze their emotions instead of allowing themselves to feel. So although yes, it does have the benefit which I mentioned, but sometimes that just might lead you to just completely suppressing your emotions entirely, and then just suddenly having a emotional breakdown out of nowhere that you're very much not equipped for, because you're like, oh, I didn't practice what to do with these emotions. Now here's all of them for the past X many years. What do I do with them? So it is really important for them to just allow themselves to feel and not detach from it entirely, because it can emotions benefit you in other ways that an Aquarius I'm sure would love as well, like a different type of intelligence, like emotional intelligence, intuition as well, since they value intellect and learning, but emotions help us do this as well. So we thought these crystals in mind to kind of help Aquarius like see these benefits and not just be like emotions entirely.
Listen, because the Aquariuses that I know, man, listen, like they are, I find that they're, so my grandmother is an Aquarius, and like her, like the injustice of humanity, and like watching the news, and like her not being able to like speak her mind keeps her up at night. She does not sleep when she gets a thought in her head, when she thinks about, like, something like world hunger that is easily solved, because so many people in this world have too much, right? As opposed to kind of, sharing the wealth, and like how our earth is being like used and abused, in a way that like her grandkids are gonna suffer from. Those things like keep her awake at night. And that's why we kind of chose the crystals that we chose. So for the first one is aquamarine, which Alex is going to show you there, because it helps transform the thoughts into reality, but it also helps to support these humanitarian endeavors by bringing them compassion and empathy and an inspired sense of service to humanity. It's a lighthearted crystal that encourages them to go with the flow and reduce like their stress levels, which really comes when you're trying to just be a humanitarian.
Save the world.
So many, you're save the world. There's so many obstacles. Like if it was so easy, like the world had been saved already, It helps them to promote authenticity and helps them feel more comfortable with themselves, especially when they feel like an outsider. Because they think so far in advance of people, or maybe they're really trying to deal with their emotions and they think that it makes them odd that they're experiencing these emotions, or that they've been in a position where they've now had to express an emotion that they might be uncomfortable with expressing. Aquamarine is really supportive of that, and helps you like realize that it is okay to feel, and it's okay to show your emotions instead of just, similarly to the water bearer, just looking at them from a distance. Like, no, you can engage in these emotions. They don't have to drive your decisions, but it's okay to embrace them and to understand that you do have emotions, you are human, and acknowledging them is going to be the first step into accepting them. Don't just act like they're not there. They're there. Okay?
Yes.
So next up we have amethyst. So amethyst is also an Aquarius stone. Aquarius and Pisces, but Aquarius for sure, because it brings the Aquarius sun sign in touch with their intuition and spiritual guidance. By doing so, helps the Aquarians to determine the best course of action as they move in towards their new future. It helps to reduce the stress that comes along with their need to change the world. Okay, so I got to stick one of these to my grandma's forehead, okay, so that she can sleep. Right? It gives them patience as they wait for others to catch up to their big ideas. She has no patience when she comes to trying to explain to my grandfather all of these big ideas that she has. And then she gets on me and she tells me, hey, get on the Twitter and tell people, yes, the Twitter, on the Twitter and tell
the people
these ideas. Right.
Yeah.
Another benefit of amethyst is that motivational energy. It inspires you to make life changes, set realistic goals, which is crucial for success. So, for someone who is trying to change the world, you got to kind of break that down into manageable steps, so that, you have the capacity to actually make the change that you want to make without burning out. Amethyst is also a stone that's really good for, like we said, connecting to your intuition and your spiritual guidance. So again, it is a crown chakra crystal. Again, bringing you really close to your more divine purpose and to your, higher dimensions. So, and amethyst is also a good crystal for, it's known for, it used to be known as a sobriety crystal, like in ancient Greece. Like, so it was like to help with like, doing things in excess. So, if you're trying to escape the world and you're just feeling really down on, humans in general, and you maybe turn to like alcohol or something like that, this helps with like kind of keeping like that sober head, that sobriety. And then it also is, a really good crystal for helping you to sleep. So it's in like our, something like our slumber gemstone roller. We use amethyst in that because it does help to really calm and relax an overactive mind, which is essential for an Aquarius who is thinking about, all of these logical and scientific things to try and change the world, all in 1 minute. So yes, amethyst for Aquarius.
Well, I can't wait to see Grandma's Twitter in 2022 that Sandra-Lee will be managing
setting
somehow.
up for her. Oh my God, I know. I'm just gonna have to let her. Yeah, it's gonna be crazy.
Tell her to figure out how to do voice to text. Like, hey, the Twitter, tell the people that I said this. Just get Siri to help her.
I'm scared to even do that. If I open up that door, I don't know if it'll.
She's gonna lead the revolution. I'm here for it.
Yeah, hey, that's fair. Yeah, Aquarians tend to be like, if there's a revolution, Aquarian is behind it.
It'll keep her busy so that everyone else can kind of like relax then.
Right. So now it's funny, like Pisces is directly after Aquarius because Pisces is like the exact opposite of Aquarius. Whereas Aquarius tend to be like observers of their emotions and like kind of separate themselves from it. Pisces are swimming in that all the time.
They are the emotions.
They are.
Yes.
embody emotions at all times. They can go on a whim any which way, which is why their symbol is the fish, and the fish are doing this because
there's two fish and they represent duality because they're constantly swimming in different directions. And they are a mutable sign as well, which all mutable signs are able to constantly change things up on a whim. They're very adaptable. Everything has its pros and challenges with that. That might be challenging for fixed signs like us to just like, okay, like we just want to pick one direction. They're like, well, what about all directions? Because everything can simultaneously exist in multiple universes. And we're just like, what?
Yeah.
So
like, huh? How do we get here?
Yeah. It's great to understand each other though, because I'm sure immutable signs look at us like, what? Like, why do you just want one side of life? We're just like, hey, it works for me.
It works for me, right? Or understanding different kind of avenues of your chart, right? Like if you have any of these other signs in your chart, different things might be resonating with you because it affects different areas of you. But we'll save that to the end. So tell us more about Pisces.
It's funny because whenever I do birth chart readings for Pisces, I always mention to them that it's always an interesting, I wouldn't say challenge, but no two Pisces are going to be the same. I mean, no two of any side should be the same, but specifically with Pisces, they are the last of the 12 zodiac signs. So they actually have characteristics of all 12 zodiac signs. They are a water sign that is very absorbent to take on sometimes like traits or energies or frequencies of other people or even like things around them. And the reason for this is because they're actually the only water sign that isn't symbolized by a animal that has some type of shell. Cancer the crab has a hard outer shell. That's a protective layer. Scorpion is a scorpion with a hard outer shell, but the fish, it just has a very sensitive layer. So this is like symbolic as to why they tend to kind of be like psychic, energetic sponges in some ways. So it's very important, arguably more so than others, for Pisces to constantly be protecting, cleansing, and releasing energies and emotions that are not theirs, because they are such big-hearted, super romantic empaths that like just want to be selflessly sacrificed to not even just who they love, because sometimes it can just be like they're ruled by Neptune, which is actually the higher octave of Venus. So Venus is the planet of love and beauty, but Neptune is the highest octave of love that there can be, because it represents universal love and oneness, like acknowledging that from a spiritual perspective that we are all one, being able to see parts of you and someone else, or knowing that we're all connected to oneness, the universe, that like we're all souls that are connected. So Pisces just has this gift, but also sometimes this challenge of being like, well, I am you, you are me. Like I see myself in you and you in me. And like, so that comes from, that can kind of explain like their need to be of service to others. Like they might actually see that helping this person helps me because of this oneness. But it's so important to have that boundaries, because you need to make sure that you're doing what you need to do in your life to make sure that you're sustainable. Unless you're very fortunate where you have lots of people around you that are doing the same. And especially because of what I mentioned by Pisces being very absorbent, it's really important for them to have a healthy, moderate balance of reclusiveness, just to be able to kind of just detach and release, like, wait, like which emotions are mine and which one did I pick up from like that stranger I just spoke to at the library today. So important for them to like have that meditative detachment time, so that you can just continue to focus on the development itself, and just to continuously release and just have that distinction and like a healthy amount of discernment of, maybe I poured a little bit too much in this cup today, knowing that mine was a little bit empty, as Sandra had mentioned for some of the water signs. Yeah. They are very strong. Empathy can be such a strength, because it means that you're going to fight for whatever your moral belief is for the world, or just maybe even someone in your life, of standing up for them. And they can channel their strength through how much they care about a certain cause or others. So these are all gifts, and of course like there's some challenges with them, but we always want to push for like the highest potential of each sign as well.
Yeah, definitely. So that's why we chose pink amethyst for Pisces, because it really is like, despite it looking like pretty and soft and sparkly, it is a powerful punch of energy. It helps you have like a really high soothing energy field, and it helps you to release sadness and stress so that you can find emotional balance. Again, the lighting here is not really doing it much justice, but it's a really like gemmy, deep pink type of crystal. It boosts your self-confidence so that you can trust your own intuition and allow love to flow through you in a positive way again. You know, it's ideal to kind of boost your mood and to keep you balanced. It's just a really intuitively uh, attuned crystal. So it helps you again to discern between what emotions are actually yours and what emotions you may have picked up from an external source. And then it also does carry some of the properties of amethyst, which, like I had said previously, which was good for Aquarians. You know, it helps you to kind of bring you into connection with your intuition and like spiritual guidance. So again, helping with that discernment about what actually is for you and what is external to you. The other one that we chose was purple fluorite. So purple fluorite, it increases mystic visions and aids in spiritual balance, and it helps your intuition to connect to your rational mind. So again, kind of using all aspects of yourself in order to find that sense of balance. It also cleanses and stabilizes the aura. It absorbs and neutralizes negative energy and stress. It's an excellent learning aid. So if you are trying to, you know, study and learn different things about yourself or just different things about the world in general, fluorite is really good for that. It encourages positivity, balances, again, balancing your energies is so important, and improving your kind of like coordination between understanding, again, those emotions that, you know, that want to take you in every which way direction, but really just about kind of choosing that direction that's going to benefit you the most, as opposed to just kind of getting lost in the whirlwind of possibilities that, you know, your any direction could take you. So again, like that constant flow, that constant like, okay, what if we try this? What if we try this? It can be extremely overwhelming. And again, it can be affected by, you know, what other people around you may be wanting to do, and you may be wanting to soothe other people around you. So therefore are putting, again, pouring too much out of yourself, similarly to Cancer, so another water sign, pouring too much out of yourself and not leaving enough for you to be stable, right? So fluoride is going to help you with that balance, to help you kind of determine, you know, if you're kind of going overboard. Are you flowing a little bit too much into other people? Is your cup actually not full enough for you to be able to pour into people the way that you want to, or the way that they're kind of requiring of you? And maybe you need to take a step back. So again, like similarly to Sagittarius, where they want to take that like that alone time to like balance themselves out and to learn new things, Pisces also really need that. So you'll find a lot of Pisces tend to be introverted, and sometimes extremely so, and that's kind of due to the fact that they are constantly overwhelmed by extreme waves of emotions from other people. So it's good, but again, finding that balance, you know, don't become a complete recluse because you haven't found a way to filter out the energy that is kind of constantly pouring into you. So fluorite. Okay, so that wraps up our 12 zodiacs, our, you know, our different crystals that are associated with each sign. So thank you so much for joining us. We will do a write-up on this as well, so it'll be linked below in the blog. Make sure you hit that follow button for all content related to everything in the metaphysical realm. And we are looking forward to seeing you at our next video. Okay,
thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye.